He watched a lantern drift skyward, its flame growing smaller until it vanished. Each knot in its tether released meant one more worry freed. The Buddha taught, you only lose what you cling to. What cords are you still holding tight? Even as you yearn to fly. A breeze unfurled a scroll tied with heavy ribbon. He let the ribbon drop, and words fluttered free in the wind. Attachment is the root of suffering, the sutras say. What messages would your heart read if you untied its bindings? He found a bouquet of wilted flowers. Instead of discarding them, he laid them on a river's edge. One by one, petals floated downstream. The Buddha smiled, let go or be dragged. Which parts of your past will you allow to float away? At dawn, dewdrops slid off a leaf and fell without regret. Each crystal circle vanished into earth. Impermanent are all things, the Buddha taught. If every drop must fall, what perfection lies in your own impermanence? He opened a cage door and watched the bird hesitate, then saw. He breathed in its freedom and realized, compassion for oneself begins with release. The Buddha said, in letting go, we find our peace. What cage door waits for your hand to open? He held on to a smooth pebble in his palm, turning it over and over. Then he dropped it into a deep well-lit splash, echoing into silence. The Buddha taught, let go of what is gone. Hold to what remains. What weight have you cast aside? And what emptiness did it reveal? She carried a bundle of old letters, tied tight with string. One by one, she unfolded them, read, then let them float away in a stream. Attachment breeds suffering, the sutra warns. Which pages of your story are you ready to release? A child let go of a balloon, its color bright against the sky, watching until it was just a speck on the horizon. The Buddha said, anything held too tightly is lost too soon. What vibrant dreams might ascend if you loosen your grasp? He performed a ritual, offering a meal into a river, then watched finches feast downstream. Generosity frees the giver, taught the Buddha. In what ways can giving away your burdens nourish another? She wrote a word of sorrow on a board, then wiped it clean. The empty surface glowed with possibility. Cleanse the mind of past regrets, the Dhammapada advises. Which sorrowful words will you erase today? He carried memories in a jar, marbles of laughter and tears. One by one, he released each marble into grass, letting them roll free. The Buddha taught, let go or be dragged. What memory will you set rolling into freedom? She clipped a single rose from a thorny bush and watched the petals drop one by one. In each fall, she found release. Impermanence is the nature of all things, the sutras teach. What beauty do you honor by allowing it to fade? He stood before two paths, one familiar, one unknown. Without hesitation, he folded an old map and walked the new trail. Courage is letting go of fear, the Buddha smiled. Which well-trodden path will you leave behind? A leaf clung stubbornly to a branch until the first gust of wind set it free. It twirled high before landing softly. True freedom blossoms in surrender, Buddha declared. What gust of change must you welcome to finally let go? He found a set of keys, but none fit any lock. Instead of discarding them, he placed them on a windowsill, letting sunlight warm the metal. What you release becomes your treasure, the sutra says. What unused keys in your life might unlock new light? A rope swing hung over a quiet pond. He released the rope and watched it drift until it snagged on a branch. Sometimes letting go leads us exactly where we need to be. The Buddha taught, surrender opens new doors. What will you discover when you release your hold? She carried a lantern through a dark tunnel. At the end, she she set it down and walked on in daylight, leaving the light behind. Light cannot be held, must be shared, the sutras teach. What will you leave behind when you step into your own dawn? A paper boat sailed across a puddle, fragile but afloat. He nudged it gently until it reached the drain. Trust the current, the Buddha advised. Which fragile hopes will you let find their own way? He held a stone inscribed with regret and tucked it into a tree's hollow. The bark closed over it, hidden. Leave burdens where they belong, says the Dharma. Where will you place your regrets so they no longer weigh you down? She wore a cloak patched with memories. One day, she left it on a bench by the road. The breeze took it away. Clothe yourself in freedom, taught the Buddha. What old garments of identity will you doff for lighter steps? He stopped measuring the distance to his goal and sat to watch clouds pass overhead. In ceasing to chase, he felt complete. Desire nothing and embrace everything, the sutra encourages. What goal will you release in order to simply be here now? A key without a lock hung on a nail. He took it down, examined it, and let it fall back. Freedom is not in finding a door, but in knowing none is needed, said the Buddha. Which keys will you drop to know yourself unlocked? She carried water in a sieve until she noticed the stream beside her. She let the empty sieve rest on the bank. Abandon futile efforts, the Dharma advises. What effort will you cease today to embrace flow? He boxed up his anxieties and labeled the box tomorrow. He nailed it to the wall, out of reach. Do not borrow trouble, Buddha warned. Which worries will you confine to a future that may never come? She tied her doubts to a paper kite and watched it soar until the strings snapped. Release is the soul's wind beneath its wings, the sutras whisper. What doubt will you lift on a string and let it break free? He unrolled a scroll of goals, read them once, then rolled it back up and placed it in a drawer. Goals guide. Do not imprison, Buddha taught. Which aspirations will you shelve until they serve your joy? She watched blossoms fall from a cherry tree, letting each petal drift earthward. Accept the cycle, the Buddha said, and find beauty in every season. Which season of your life are you resisting that might bring its own blossom? He untied a net trapping butterflies and set them free. Compassion is release without regret, the Dharma teaches. Whose freedom will you open the net to today? She erased a line of footprints from sand and walked barefoot anew. The Buddha taught, walk lightly, leave no imprint. What tracks of your past will you smooth away for a fresh beginning? At journey's end, he stood empty-handed and unafraid. He realized that everything he released had returned in endless forms: lightness, peace, presence. The Buddha smiled. In letting go, you gain the world. What will you find when you let go? Of everything.